Okay.
Yes. Okay.
All of us know that ectopic pregnancy is on the increase. Currently, it is 11 per 1,000, and 2 to 3% of women attending the early pregnancy unit will suffer from ectopic pregnancy. And in 2011 to 13, the ruptured ectopic pregnancy accounted for 2.7% of maternal mortality. The prevalence among the women presenting an emergency room with the first trimester vaginal bleeding or abdominal pain or both is around 18%, and ART incidence of ectopic pregnancy is increased to 2.2 to 4.5%. And heterotropic pregnancy, once it was thought to be so low, now that is 1:30,000 to 1:40,000. I think with the ART incidence being increasing, the incidence of heterotropic pregnancy is also on the increase. I currently welcome all my panelists. To anyone, Dr. Rita Sinha, can you tell me what is, see, in which part of the tube it is more common, or in which of the organs that has got a likelihood chance of having an ectopic pregnancy?
Yeah, madam. Yeah, it is more common in fallopian tube, which is 90%, and in cesarean scar and ovarian, it is 1 to 3%, and in cervix and abdomen, it is 1%, and in ampullary, most of the occur into the ampullary region in fallopian tube.
Yeah, do you find any difference in presentation of the symptoms depending upon the various locations in the fallopian tube?
Yes, if it is in the ampullary region, there is rupture or it is unruptured. If there is a abdominal or pelvic pain, amenorrhea and missed abortion, missed period, or she is using sexual life, and vaginal bleeding with or without clots is there. Other symptoms are breast symptoms, GI symptoms, dizziness, shoulder pain, urinary symptom, passage of tissue, rectal pressure. But if it is in the abdominal scar, then the pain is more, and urinary symptoms is more. In cervical, then the pain is less, but the symptoms bleeding is more.
So to put in a nutshell, whenever there is a triad of amenorrhea with an abdominal pain and vaginal bleeding may or may not, then in a reproductive age group, woman, we have to always think about ectopic pregnancy.
Yeah.
And there are always associated symptoms depending upon where is the site of ectopic pregnancy. That is why we can have GI symptoms or urinary symptoms. And if it has ruptured already, then the shoulder tip pain and classical Cullen signs, everything we can have. Can anybody else enumerate? Dr. Nigarika, are you there?
Can I add something?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, madam.
I think, as we said, that the fallopian tube ectopic is more common. Again, the rupture, whether it is ischemic or ampullary, what we see is rupture is more common if it is ischemic. It may be slightly delayed with ampullary. And again, the tubal abortions are common with either ampullary and the fimbrial. But the rupture is very early with ischemic. But to share, even I have seen a patient where she had not even missed her period, and yes, she came to us with a pain. I mean, you can, sometimes it is difficult to diagnose. So very early also the patient can come to you with a pain.
Again, if it is going to be the presence of ectopic is in the interstitial portion of the tube, it may go beyond even 3 months or 12 weeks or 14 weeks, and yes, it can cause rupture.
The bleeding is there.
Yeah. So the site is very important too for the manifestation. Then anyone else wants to? Dr. Shashwati, I see you here. Welcome, Dr. Shashwati. Can you enumerate some of the common signs what we see in ectopic pregnancy?
Shashwati.
She was there. Otherwise, Dr. Niharika, you can take that question.
Ma'am. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Lakshmi ma'am, for having me here. So we know that the typical triad for ectopic pregnancy is amenorrhea, abdominal pain, and irregular vaginal bleeding. But it is seen that the pain is usually located on the lower quadrant of the abdomen or on the lower back. And whenever there is a rupture, the first sign of pain is there is sharp pain in the iliac fossa. You can also see other signs like abdominal distension, generalized abdominal tenderness, rebound tenderness, and the uterus is always enlarged there. And if there is rupture and if there is blood loss, then the patient might come in state of tachycardia, hypotension, or even shock and collapse.
Screenshot Lena.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nigarika. Then, Dr. Ritu, can you tell me the risk factors for ectopic pregnancy?
Yes, madam. The patient risk factor are mostly in the infertile patient, or if the age is more than 35 years and she is smoking, or she had previous ectopic pregnancy, or she has pelvic inflammatory disease, or tubal disease, or any operation is in the tube, or the multiple embryo is transferred, and also IUCD users are more prone to this ectopic pregnancy.
So they have a positive risk factor association.
Yeah, it
But
is a
what
positive.
about- yeah.
In negative factor, if the patient is taking oral contraceptive, or she is taking emergency contraceptive, or MTP, or previous pregnancy loss, and also in cesarean section, because we know that there is also a scar endometriosis. So not in each and every, but 1 to 3% occur in cesarean delivery also. These are negative risk factors.
Okay. Dr. Anju, are you there?
Yeah, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening,
Yeah.
everybody.
Now let us move on to the case scenarios. It was a 25-year-old lady married since 4 months, came to our hospital with history of 35 days amenorrhea with a mild lower abdominal pain for confirmation of pregnancy. Her general condition was good, no significant family or the surgical or medical history. Her abdomen was soft on examination, UPT was positive. So on the UPT was the serum beta HCG level was 565 milliunits on 2/7, and the because it was only 565 milliunits, and UPT there was complaining of she was complaining of pain. What will you think about and how will you proceed with the patient?
Since urine test is
Dr.
positive.
Anju?
Yeah, ma'am. Good evening, everybody. And thanks to Lakshmi ma'am for including me this in panel discussion. Madam, actually the patient, there is history of amenorrhea and urine test is positive, but she came with the symptom of abdominal pain. So, and since beta HCG is raised, so we will repeat beta HCG after 4 days. And it is 996, means less than 1000 milliequivalent. So we will first go for this transvaginal sonography to confirm that whether the pregnancy is intrauterine or there is some chance of ectopic.
And what do you think that at the level of less than 1000 milliunits, can we make out a scan by ultrasonogram, that is transvaginal ultrasonogram? Can you make out the sac? Because generally say that the discriminatory zone, it should be minimum
1,000
million. But with the high resolution transvaginal ultrasonograms, we can definitely make out. And this was the ultrasound report. So now you have come to a conclusion of that this is a case of ectopic pregnancy. What are you going to do? Are you going to go for expectant management, or do you want to give methotrexate?
In this case, first we will go for expectant treatment.
Yeah.
Since the beta HCG level is less than 1000 milliequivalent, it is in the zone discriminatory zone. So we will follow up with weekly beta HCG and follow up a scan. If there is decrease in beta HCG by more than 15%, then it is I think that it is regressing, and we can go for expectant treatment.
Yeah, the first repeat reading itself showed that the level was not that much grossly elevated. So expectant management was followed in this particular patient. I would also like to add up the recent literature evidence shows that giving even a single dose of methotrexate, those group of patients can be managed expectantly, because in most of the time, the patient will have an ectopic pregnancy which may not be diagnosed at all, and finally she would have got cleared spontaneously the missed sac. So the expectant management, can Dr. Shashwati, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Then can you give me the suggestions why expectant management was chosen in this particular patient?
No, I just want to give you one more example. We just had a patient in last week in my department. She had an this thing, a beta ECG of around 300, and then we just followed her up. She had just a little bit of bleeding, and there was ultrasound, there was nothing inside, and you don't expect that 300 something to be there. But she was very keen because of her first pregnancy. Then we waited and waited, and then another third day we have repeated her beta ECG. So it has come down. From 300, it became 200. And after again another 2 days, it came to 92. So we didn't give her any methotrexate because we thought if she wants a pregnancy, let her be there, maybe a delayed pregnancy that has occurred. So that way, it was a spontaneous resolution of the ectopic pregnancy that has, even if it is ectopic pregnancy or maybe even a chemical pregnancy, we don't know. But it just a simple observation follow, but she was in the hospital. So that can be done. So that is the rationality. Because sometimes, I have seen patients patient complain of pain, and we thought it to be a case of ectopic pregnancy. Actually, she was a case of endometriosis. So later on, what happened, because she was insisting, having so much of pain, she was a little bit of spotting. So we gave her methotrexate, and to our utter displeasure, patient had an intrauterine sac after 7 or 10 days. So that was very unfortunate for us. So I think it is always better to wait for a little while and just follow her up. You have to have patience, and patient also should have the patience. So if you explain them properly.
Can I add one thing? Because this patient is clinically stable and asymptomatic. So we can do expected management.
Yeah.
So recently, I would
The
like
patient must ready for follow-up. This is very, very important that in expected management, patient must be come to us.
Yes, so it is, the beta ECG should be much lesser than maybe 1500, and then patient, of course, this is very important. Counseling, weaning patients, and the hemodynamic problem should not be there. And in our case, the pain also was not there. So we are very sure that probably something we can always wait for some time.
I think the most important is a asymptomatic patient. If the patient has symptom, one will have to be, because I had a patient, even her values were not very high, but she experienced lot of pain at home and she came to hospital. Meanwhile, I was just giving her expectant line of management and we were waiting for the beta ECG level. She settled. The patient settled and there was a minimal fluid in the POD. Okay, so we just did an expectant line of management, and I was suspecting a very early tubal abortion where the levels were very low, and she settled down.
Yeah. So
and one doctor patient I had, she had pain, but I just tell you with my experience, I don't think it can be
Dr.
We should proceed.
Yeah. See, I should thank Dr. Sheila and Dr. Shashwati for your clear inputs. So the message what I wanted to give from this particular case is be calm, wait, because at a lower level of HCG, even with the pain she has or some amount of minimal free fluid in the pelvic peritoneal cavity, still you can go in for an expectant management, because most often the pregnancy resolves on its own, whether it is an ectopic pregnancy or sometimes even it could be a failing pregnancy. So only 30% of the expected management will fail. So this is according to Green Top guidelines. And this is what about the discriminatory zone, what we were discussing. So anyone wants to comment about the discriminatory zone? I think you have already explained. At the level of 1000 to 1500 milliunits, you are supposed to see a sac with the intrauterine or ectopic sac in a high resolution mission. And also, again, we need to have a sonographer's experience and potential risk factors the patient has got. So in general, 1000 units may be taken up as a cutoff point. So
we usually take 1000 as.
Yeah. So offer expectant management in a clinically stable patient when the tubal ectopic is less than 35 millimeter with no visible introit yolk sac or the fetal heart, serum HCG already you have mentioned. So you must consider expectant management with the same features, except that serum beta HCG can be even up to 1500. So moving on to the case 2, Mrs. V, age 26 years, married since 2 months, history of 40 days amenorrhea for confirmation of pregnancy. Patient's general condition was fair and no significant medical and surgical history. On examination, abdomen soft, UPT was positive. Patient was advised folic acid and she was advised to review after 1 week for an ultrasonogram. Okay, so this was the ultrasonographic picture after on day 45. There was no intrauterine sac, and again was, when you look into it, she had in the left adnexia an adnexial mass that is suggestive of ectopic pregnancy. So what will be the next method of management in this particular patient? Dr. Kiran, are you there? Kiran Kuttikodi, sir. Hello?
No, Ramani, Kiran is not there.
Okay, anybody else can take up the case.
So ma'am, right now in this case, the first important thing we would like to do is the beta HCG levels to confirm the pregnancy, whether she is pregnant or not, and whether that adnexal mass is what we are suspecting as a query ectopic pregnancy. The first thing I would like to do is the beta HCG levels.
Yeah, that was 978, almost nearing 1000. So what are you going to do?
She comes in that discriminatory zone we're talking about. So now in this discriminatory zone, we would like to decide the mode of management. So if the patient is asymptomatic and stable and has no other symptoms, then we would like to go towards the expectant management here. For an expectant management, a counseling is important because these patients will have to come up for regular follow-up. So the first thing you have to counsel them is that you have to come for follow-up, and if you have any kind of symptoms, then you have to report immediately. The easiest way of an expectant management is to give them a methotrexate injection, because that's the best accepted method for medical management of ectopic pregnancy here. So how this actually methotrexate also works is something like that. It is for folic acid antagonist. So it will start inhibiting the growing trophoblastic tissue, and therefore it can be used as a medical management.
So when are you supposed to do the repeat beta HCG after the first dose?
I think we have to do a serial beta HCG because 978 and she is asymptomatic. I would not give a methotrexate right on one HCG readings. I would repeat a HCG after 48 hours. And if it is less than 15% decrease, then we have to think of methotrexate. Otherwise, if it is the fall is more than 15%, maybe she is resolving spontaneously. So we have to still wait and watch if the vitals are stable. If the patient is smart enough, if she is coming for a regular follow-up, she does not want any surgical treatment, and we have the contact of her number. I mean, counseling is the most important part if we have to go in for a expectant management, or even if we have to go in for a methotrexate. We have to tell her what are the side effects of methotrexate, why we are giving this one.
We'll be coming to that details soon.
Right, ma'am.
So this particular patient,
Can I add something, Ramani? I just want to tell that if you have a discrete SAC have seen, probably I will go with methotrexate. I will not go for a management.
Yeah, see, I definitely why I went for methotrexate in this particular patient was the sac was slightly appearing larger than what it should have been for day 45. So, but see, the repeat beta HCG on day 4 was 2,251. That means it has increased. So I thought I was right in giving the first dose, and whether to go for the second methotrexate dose, as you have already mentioned very clearly, it was not reduced, but instead it has increased. So we need to go for the second dose of methotrexate and repeat beta HCG after 4 days. So now it has beautifully started falling down, and serial follow-up, beta HCG has come down. Then what about the ultrasound? Ultrasound, will the size of the sac regress in parallel with the beta HCG, or it will take some longer time? It always takes longer time.
Sometimes it may take, the adnexal mass may form and the mass may resolve maybe over 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
So it might take very long.
Yeah, only the vascularity will come down initially. So now here comes how,
sometimes it can increase also because there is a separation of the sometimes chorionic villi.
and
There
some
may be some bleeding.
chorionic hemorrhage can be there.
Experience pain also. Patient can experience pain also. So
Yes.
after the first dose or we find that the patient experiences pain. So instead of relying on the ultrasound, we have to look for the beta HCG levels, but also look for signs of rupture. Sometimes it can rupture, you know. I mean, it's not that, or a tubal abortion. Even a tubal abortion.
Tubal abortion is more common than rupture in these cases. When you give methotrexate conservative for 1 or 2 doses, if the patient experiences severe pain, it is invariably the tubal abortion that is more common, because it tries to separate out and it squeezes up to the fimbrial end. Now, can anybody tell how you will counsel the patient before going in for starting methotrexate? Because
if we are starting methotrexate, we must be very clear that there is no intrauterine pregnancy, and this SCG is less than 1,000 to 1,500 international unit. The SAT should be less than 35 millimeter, and also patient should come for follow-up. And patient has no liver function or renal problem, and she should come for follow-up. This is very important.
So that is communication, madam. In what way you will counsel the patient? Because before giving methotrexate, we have to tell them that it may not be successful always. And then rate of rupture of tubal abortion is there.
I will explain her all the modalities, and I will also say what is the percentage, and in some methotrexate it may be possible that again it maybe rupture can occur and you have to come for surgical. All these things should be said. And also, if we are giving methotrexate, she should not be take any folic acid or anything which is having the folic acid. The fruits will not take, she will not take NSAID.
And not smoking or anything to suppress the pain should be avoided. Because in the event of rupture, the pain may not manifest if she is already put on some narcotic analgesics. So now I think we can skip this indication for methotrexate. We have described already, and Madam Rita madam had already explained that we have to check for the LFT, RFT and the CBC. Now, what is
there is a question that what is the dosage, you know?
Yeah, that we are coming, madam. Then contraindications for medical.
If it is SCG,
what are the contraindications?
More than 5.
Contraindication is if the mass is bigger than the mass is bigger than 4 centimeter, or it is the SCG is more than 5,000 international unit, or she is compromised patient, renal and hepatic compromise, or she has gastric ulcer, then we will not give, or sensitive to methotrexate.
Cardiac activity present, we will not give methotrexate.
Correct.
Yes, and patient is not coming for follow-up, then also we will not give her.
So then again, most important thing is in the event of immunodeficiency syndrome and bone marrow suppression and sensitivity, pulmonary disease, renal disease, liver disease, breastfeeding mother with a rupture ectopic and in a hemodynamically unstable patient, do not intend to give methotrexate. This already we have mentioned cardiac activity and the size, everything. And a patient who is not ready to accept blood transfusion in the event, if she ruptures in the course of the treatment, we are not supposed to do it. So now coming to the methotrexate treatment protocols, can anybody tell me what is the dose and what are the treatment protocols with methotrexate?
Well, on the values of the beta HCG, as we said, you know, if we want to go for a single dose where the values are not very high, we can go with the, suppose if it is 2,000 or something, we can give a single dose also. And what I follow is 1 milligram per kg body weight. Okay, that is. Now what ampule, what is available is usually 50 milligram, and most of the time if they are thin, you know, that will suffice. But otherwise, if they are like 60, 65, we add 150 milligram more. So 1 milligram per kg body weight, we give that. Now that is for the single dose. As you said, for the second dose, we assess the beta HCG values after 48 hours, we find that there is no fall in the beta HCG levels of less than 15%, we will have to give the same dose, that is the second dose. Now, if we have a higher values, that is 5,000 like that, then we may go for multiple dose regime. Either we go for 1, 3, 5, 7 with 2, 4, 6, 8, where we may have to give folinic acid also, as we are giving higher dosages, or that is the 4 days regime. I mean, sorry, the
Multiple dose.
Dr. Kiran, having joined, good, welcome, sir. Sir, do you want to say anything? Add what about the success rate in each regimes?
In
Kiran, sir, you can unmute and talk. Dr. Kiran.
Okay, I think success rate will depend again on the HCG.
Yeah, I am there. The success rate for the single dose is usually 81 to 96%. That is what.
Yes.
But the one more thing that I would like to add here is that many a times we are in a hurry to repeat the beta HCG levels. However, after the first dose of methotrexate, generally what I have found in my cases is that the beta HCG rises on day 4 or day 5. And we may be in a hurry to give the second dose. So it would be prudent to wait for about 7 days if the patient is hemodynamically stable before we go ahead and give the second dose. That is what my personal opinion would be.
I also agree with you, Dr. Kiran. See, probably the increase in the level of beta HCG is secondary to the dissemination of this chorionic trophoblastic tissue when we give methotrexate. So we need to wait rightly, but the textbook description as well as the guidelines are stating that on day 4, we have to have a repeat beta HCG. And if the level is not falling beyond greater than 15%, then we need to give the repeat dose. Probably in the previous case, what I had shown, the increase in the level was
quite high.
What we practically see in many of the cases. So this is what we have done. Yeah, single success rate with each. What is the give methotrexate for this pregnancy? Is it going to have any future impact on the fertility outcome?
No, there is no any effect on the. There is no effect on the future outcome. She can conceive after 3 months of the drug, taking drug.
Yeah,
Can see after 3 months.
We need to give her advice for contraception for 3 months. So, the Dr. Anju, can you enumerate some of the adverse effects what we can face in multi-drug regime?
Yeah, since methotrexate
Dr.
is a,
Anju?
yeah, ma'am, I am here. Since methotrexate has action like anti-folic acid, folic acid antagonism. So there is a bone. It also affects the normal cells. So there is a bone marrow suppression, pulmonary fibrosis, non-specific pneumonitis. There may be chance of liver failure, renal failure, and gastric ulceration. There may be sensitivity.
Though
Most severe form I have seen is
most
acute mucositis.
Side effects. What we... Hello.
Hello.
Tell me.
There could be
mouth ulceration.
There could be lymphopenia because it causes the depression of all the parameters of the bone marrow and the blood. So we have to keep on be very careful that her CBC is normal, her platelet count are normal, and also do her LFTs, KFTs.
So that is what we have discussed prior to starting methotrexate. Always do a LFT, RFT, CBC. But when she is on treatment, the chances of getting oral ulcerations, I have come across very bad oral ulceration.
Very common. It is very common.
Yeah, the most common side effect what we see. And now coming to when is surgery indicated?
Surgery is indicated when
the patient you go for surgery in these patients.
If after giving methotrexate, if the level is high, the sac will become bigger, then we have to go for. Or the patient is not coming for follow-up.
Will also tell you.
Patient starts getting any symptoms like significant pain, bleeding, then also we would like to plan for a surgery.
Fainting.
Also, if the
Yes,
management has failed.
heartbeat will appear. Heartbeat will appear, when you are giving the dosages. And then you will have to stop and proceed with surgery. That is one of the things. After 4 dosages also, the beta HCG levels have not come down. We will have to proceed. And if the patient is symptomatic, like if pain, then, and as the pregnancy is advanced, not responding to
When it becomes the persistent ectopic
they
pregnancy,
might
that surgery is indicated.
end up in rupture.
What
So before
surgery?
that, we should decide for surgery.
Laparoscopy or laparotomy, and if which will be the line of surgical management?
If the patient is hemodynamically stable, then in the route of surgery will be laparoscopy. And if it is stable, then we can do side-by-side resuscitation and stabilize the patient and go for this laparoscopy. Surgery could be salpingostomy or salpingectomy.
Yeah. Which
So
will
if
you
the
prefer?
is normal, healthy, then we can go for salpingectomy. If it is disease or there is a previous ectopic, history of previous ectopic, then we will go for this salpingostomy.
Yeah. So with the current day facilities available, I think
Laparoscopy is the treatment of choice.
Salpingectomy, yeah. Laparoscopy is the gold standard and salpingectomy is the gold standard.
Yeah.
Exception is if the opposite tube is disease, maybe probably you can go in for a salpingotomy. So how will you, suppose if you do a salping, how will you follow up the patient, Dr. Kiran?
Yeah.
Still you want to go about with the beta HCG?
No, as far as salpingectomy is concerned, I would like to mention that here we should remove the entire tube. Many a times I have done a I have operated on stump ectopics also. So many a times in a femoral ectopic or an ampullary ectopic, only that portion is removed, whereas the corneal portion is kept in situ. So please remember that the entire tube along with the cornu has to be removed. It is mandatory to avoid stump ectopic. Now, as far as follow-up is concerned, we have to do a beta HCG level, say after a week of after salpingectomy, and then we repeat it after every week to till the point of time that it is negative.
Normal.
Yeah.
So this here I would like to share. When I was fresher, I had done very boldly salpingotomy for one patient, one of my own staff. Then after a week, I discharged her. After a week, she came back with severe pain. Then only I realized that it was a persistent topic, and hence we need to follow up these patients with beta HCG. Now coming to case 3, Dr. Anju, can you take up this case? Okay, it's a 26-year-old, married since 3 years, came to our hospital with lower abdominal pain, 45 days of amenorrhea with confirmation of pregnancy. She is on fertility treatment with history of previous one abortion. General condition was good, no surgical or medical history. UPT was positive and what? So previous history of abortion, she is 45 days pregnant, UPT positive. What is going to be your treatment modality? Would you like to go for a beta HCG or an ultrasound?
I will go for transvaginal ultrasound. Since beta HCG.
So this was the transvaginal ultrasound, which was showing an intrauterine pregnancy, and at the same time, she has an adnexal mass.
So this is a case of
heterotropic. So this is a case of
heterotropic pregnancy, because there is intrauterine pregnancy and also
so now how we are going to manage this particular? Yeah.
So first, this patient infertility, and there is history of previous abortion. So I think this intrauterine pregnancy will be important for her. So the follow-up done, and since the adnexal mass is the size, it is less than 35 millimeter. So we can go for expectant management, and if the size is decreasing, that of the adnexal mass, and intrauterine pregnancy is going well, then by expectant management we will go. If the size is increasing, then or any cardiac flicker appear also in the adnexal mass, then the intrauterine pregnancy is managed like normal pregnancy, and that sac should be injection of the KCL or a lap self-injectomy can be taken up to remove that pregnancy, and intrauterine pregnancy will be carried out like normal pregnancy. If she does not want for this pregnancy, intrauterine pregnancy, then methotrexate will be the choice, the medical management, and accordingly by beta HCG follow-up should be done. And if the intrauterine pregnancy shows it is missed abortion, and that then again the methotrexate will be the choice, and follow-up should be done. In this way, this will be managed.
So this particular patient had no evidence of fetal pole in the adnexial sac. Hence, we went ahead with the conservative management. So this is another, not the particular case. That one important point I would like to give is don't rely upon beta HCG heterotropic pregnancy. That is the message. So regarding how to manage the heterotropic pregnancy, Dr. Anju has already mentioned. If the patient wants to continue the live intrauterine pregnancy, give her KCL in the adnexial mass. And if the live pregnancy is only in extrauterine and intrauterine loss, then methotrexate can be given. So that's what she has already mentioned. So the case 4 is 44-year-old, married since 20 years, came with a... Yeah? Nigarika, what do you want to add?
I was just wanting to add that I read few articles and I've seen one case that we can also do a ultrasound guided embryo aspiration in the cases of heterotropic pregnancy. That also is now coming up. So if we do a transvaginal scan and if we see that adnexal mass is accessible, easily accessible, then maybe embryo aspiration would be a better choice.
Embryo aspiration with KCL, that can also be done. Or hyperosmolar dextrose can also
be given.
So this
Ramani Devi, looking at the time, we have 5 minutes to go, so you can start summarizing. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just okay. So this I'll be just finishing soon. So 44-year lady, history of amenorrhea, abdominal pain for confirmation. It was an IVF conception. Then UPT was, and like beta HCG was positive, and she had an adnexial mass. And this particular patient, she didn't want to go for beta HCG was 5,000, beyond 5,000. She didn't want, she had methotrexate given 2 doses. Repeat beta HCG was still increasing, pain not reduced, advised laparoscopy but not willing. What else to do?
We will do laparoscopic excision of ectopic sac.
Yeah. So she was
maybe salpingectomy or salpingotomy depending upon the case.
She was not willing, and hence I was forced to give 2 more doses. But then ultimately I convinced her, look at this, this was a neat tubal abortion. That is what I was already mentioning. When there is severe pain during the course of methotrexate, if the patient has got severe pain, always think about either rupture or tubal abortion. So this was how it was managed, and ultimately laparoscopic excision, self-injectomy was done, and we have already described about self-injectomy and self-ingotomy. These 2 slides I will. Okay, this we have discussed. Then whether you need to give anti-D immunoglobulin when you are treating a patient with ectopic pregnancy.
It must be given. It is 250 microgram IM.
Yeah, we do not know what is the status of the RH status of the fetus. Hence, we need to give anti-D should be given. So case 5, it is married 3 months with 45 days amenorrhea for confirmation of pregnancy, and her beta HCG was 4,759. And on 45th day, she had a hyperechoic mass in the cervical canal with increased vascularity. So, what is this? A case of
cervical
ectopic.
Cervical
pregnancy. Cervical ectopic pregnancy.
Because we are quite seeing lot of we are seeing quite a lot of cervical ectopic pregnancy. Repeat beta HCG was high. What we have, I have given her 2 doses of methotrexate. Then again, with the reduced vascularity, still the sac was persistent, and hence I went ahead with the hysteroscopy. So hysteroscopy was this. Sorry. So you can see a nice the chorionic villi that is floating inside water, and then this was after the curettage of this cervical pregnancy. See, inside you can see the cavity was perfectly normal. Okay, so under hysteroscopic guidance, the products of conception were removed and she was perfectly all right. So you
But
are to
remember,
diagnose
in
cervical.
these patients, sometimes they really bleed so badly, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
may have to go for in the descending cervical ligature. Sometimes really bleed very badly.
Ligation,
Or
And also
Police tamponade can also be given if there is bleeding.
for
Police
emergency,
that this
tamponade.
particular
also plays a role.
Yeah, methotrexate was given, hence the vascularity was low. So I waited almost for 3 to 4 weeks, then only I did it. So the diagnosis is empty uterus, barrel-shaped cervix, gestational sac below the interlars, and absence of sliding sign and blood flow around the gestational sac. So the other modalities of treatment are systemic methotrexate, intralesional methotrexate, KCL, hyperosmolar dextrose, uterine artery embolization, uterine artery ligation, curettage followed by Foley's tamponade, and rarely hysterectomy. See, then coming to case number 6, another patient with 45 days of amenorrhea, previous history of LSCS and previous one ectopic pregnancy, which was managed medically. And now the current thing is, here we can see the imaging. See, what is this?
Cesarean scar pregnancy.
At the site of scar, you can see the scar site ectopic pregnancy.
Above the internal.
Okay, perfect.
There's hardly
All
any.
right, and you they see the endometrial cavity is also not.
No.
See,
Very
can you
difficult
see
to
the
see.
fetal bone here? Yeah. So again, what is going to be the management?
Again, it depends on the size, you know. If it is very small, we can still go with methotrexate and follow them up. Okay.
So this was another case where we had twin sac in the scar site.
Okay.
Oh, twin sac.
So the management is going to be the same. If it is going to be a yearly lesion, I think we can go ahead with methotrexate. Okay,
Yeah,
that is
we can
fine.
go ahead with methotrexate, but follow-up is important. And
Follow-up
sometimes
and
if it has
follow-up.
invaded the wall of the uterus, there may be rupture into the peritoneal cavity. We
Yeah.
had one case who had
Yeah.
taken the abortion pills across the counter. She came with bleeding. So she was taken up for evacuation. The moment cannula was inserted, she started bleeding profusely. Okay. Even that
So
cannula had
this can be
perforated.
done either by a hysteroscopic guidance of DNC, but like how you said, it could have a torrential bleeding. In early
Yeah, and she
phases,
landed
giving methotrexate followed by hysteroscopic resection can be done.
And
Okay.
the other way is the laparoscopic.
So that was in government hospital. We had to
We
proceed
can do
to hysterectomy.
laparoscopic.
So I can
Yeah.
also show a picture of laparoscopic, how we had a
Dr.
laparoscopic
Ramni Devi, if you
management
can
of,
continue, please. Thank you, ma'am.
so early pregnancy it is methotrexate. In late pregnancy it could be a laparoscopic. How we handled it with the very this was give vasopressin, then we can remove it and go ahead with the revision of the scar and then go ahead. So some of the other patients, we can, the likely chances of recurrent ectopic pregnancy is also there. We have to go through the medical history. And in this particular patient, she had a recurrent ectopic. And the advice what she was again treated with methotrexate and avoid conception. All these things were described earlier in we have discussed in detail. So recurrent ectopic pregnancy incidence is around 18% and conservative management. And some of the other causes or cases are carnal or interstitial ovarian pregnancy, pregnancy of unknown origin, and abdominal pregnancy. These are some of the things.
Recently, we had one abdominal pregnancy. We diagnosed that the sac was in the pouch of Douglas, and that was very unusual. And when we did the laparoscopy, we found that the sac was adherent to the sigmoid colon.
Okay.
But
So
as it was early, we were able to resect it carefully, and then later on we gave methotrexate because we were scared to touch the colon. You know.
So this is a case of carnal pregnancy where they have already given 4 doses of methotrexate outside, but it was fiery looking. So ultimately we have to excise it and go ahead. So pregnancy of unknown location is also another problem where most often the beta HCG will be positive. You will not be able to see a sac inside the uterus, and on if you wait and follow, invariably 60 to
MRI.
90% will have intrauterine pregnancy, or sometimes it could be failing
Or
pregnancy.
ectopic also.
On ectopic in 10 to 20% of the cases. So
Sorry
to
to
share
interrupt
my
you, Dr.
personal,
Ramani Devi.
yes,
Yeah, looking at the time, we have to conclude it, please.
yeah, just 2 or 3 slides. This is my experience with 79 cases out of 216 whom I managed medically, mode of conception, complaint, ultrasound findings, beta HCG levels, methotrexate I have given from 1 dose to 5 doses, failed medical management, I have had 18 cases, and then recurrent ectopic, we had 4 cases which were managed medically or by surgically, and pregnancy was fairly good enough. Out of we had 37 pregnancies. With this, I thank the panel members as well as Dr. Lakshmi Srikante and the team for giving this excellent opportunity. Thank you,
Thank
dear
you.
panelists, for